Am I wrong for calling my sister cruel for her tattoo idea? Depends what it is. Let's see what if it's really cruel. This is 28 and I'm 26 male. My sister N has always had a strained relationship with our parents, especially my mom. I'm clearly not privy to the reasons because things are fine with me and my parents. When N went to college, she met her creative writing professor as a freshman and they got close immediately. They would do a lot together and work closely on a few different writing projects. Anne never specifically said this, but it was obvious to anyone who saw them interact that they had a substitute mother/daughter type relationship, which hurt my mom a lot to see. I always thought that she'd grow out of it or that the professor would move on, but 10 years later, they are still very close. About a month ago, the professor died unexpectedly and it devastated Anne. She was really depressed over the holidays, which of course was all in front of my mom and was a difficult reminder that Anne loved the professor as a mother way more than she ever loved my mom as a mother. She still talks to my parents about stuff and they don't fight or anything, but Anne is very distant and doesn't tell them anything about her life beyond the bare minimum. My mom tried to comfort Anne, but Anne was doing her distant thing and didn't want comfort. Something unfortunate that happened to Anne is that when she got the call that she died, she was brewing tea and in the shock of the news, she spilled boiling water on her arm, which burned her kind of badly on her wrist. I think the burn was like on the borderline of second and third degree and definitely still looked pretty rough during the holidays. Anne said it was especially hard because in addition to the physical pain, every time she looks at it, she is reminded of the moment she found out the professor died, which I totally get. I was on FaceTime with Anne and she said she talked to her tattoo artist friend who said that the burn should be able to heal well enough to get a tattoo over it. Anne then excitedly told me about her idea, which is a type of flower that the professor gave her a bouquet of for her undergrad graduation. My mom was so embarrassed that day because she didn't get Anne flowers, but the professor did, and Anne was parading them around so happy, and it was a reminder of their connection. I guess Anne and the professor exchanged these flowers for every special occasion like birthdays. So now she wants to get a decent sized tattoo in a highly visible spot of something that will remind everyone of the professor. I told Anne that this seemed really cruel to my mom, who already feels cast aside and like she's in exile from Anne. And that's without the constant permanent reminder. Anne kind of scoffed and said, I can't believe you think you have the right to tell me not to do this. Called me an ass and hung up and is still not talking to me except for a very brief text message saying congrats for a promotion I just got. My parents aren't commenting. My dad said I should have just kept quiet even though he agrees, and my mom made no comment but seemed grateful I stood up for her. I feel like I was just being protective of my mom. But am I the asshole? Yeah, 1000%. Let me tell you why. I'm going to say 1000% you're the asshole because I get that you're trying to protect your mom's feelings, but this isn't about her. It's about your sister's grief and her way of coping with the loss of someone who was clearly important to her. The professor meant a lot to N. It's not your place to tell her how she should process her emotions or memorialize someone she loved. She literally said, your mom came empty handed to her graduation. That's all I needed to hear when her professor brought her flowers. How do you come empty handed? No flowers for your own daughter's graduation. No, what can you say to validate that? That's horrible. Of course you picked the professor more because how do you not bring flowers to your daughter's graduation? Like, okay, sure, your mom's hurt feelings over the mother-daughter thing are valid, but that's something your mom and sister need to work through, not you. And by inserting yourself into the situation and telling your sister not to get the tattoo, you dismissed her grief and made it about your mom's feelings instead. And that 1000% was overstepping. Unless she asks you, you don't input. And then also, I don't think at all that the tattoo it's not about rubbing the relationship in anyone's faces. She has a really good meaning behind it. It's your sister's personal way of remembering someone who had a huge impact on her life, her body, her choice, right? And by trying to guilt her out of it, you made things worse. You might think you were protecting your mom, but in the end, you likely just damaged your relationship with your sister for no good reason. If your mom had a problem with it, she should have said it herself. And if your mom is still hurting from this strained relationship, then it's up to her to have a conversation with your sister about it. But trying to police how N grieves, not your call. My negligence cost my partner her life, and I'm about to lose everything. This is a content warning. It's going to be talking about violence and death. I, 35 male, have been married to Lisa, 28 female, for 3 years, together for 7. A year ago, I fell deeply in love with Amy, 24 female, and have been planning to end my marriage for her. I know it's terrible and not what my wife deserves, but we were the real thing. 2 weeks ago, she had an allergic reaction when we were getting food after work, but she used her EpiPen and seemed mostly okay afterwards. She usually gets checked at the hospital after a reaction, but I asked if I could take her home and she could get her friend to drive her there because my wife was expecting me back. All I know is that she had a secondary reaction that evening and died. I didn't even find out about it until the following Monday through a work email. It's been eating me up ever since, and I will never forgive myself for not sacrificing an hour of my time to possibly save her. I sent some childish messages to Amy when I didn't hear from her over the weekend because I thought she was angry I didn't take her to the hospital. I'm already so upset over so many things, but we'll wait. My brow though, look at that. Mashallah, that arch. I'm thankful she never saw them and ashamed that I assumed the worst. Our relationship was great and the highs far outweighed the lows, but I had always hated being ignored and I lose my cool when it happens. It is not a regular occurrence and I would have more than made it up to her. Crazy that you think we're gonna have sympathy for you because you're cheating on your wife, right? Because of you, if you weren't with your wife, if you weren't being a cheating bastard, you wouldn't have had to leave because you're cheating on your wife and she knew you would be cheating on her if you didn't come home on a good time, right? You could have taken this girl to the hospital. If I'm with someone, right, Friday, and you don't find out I'm dead till Monday, did you really care about me? How did you? Because you're too busy with your current life. Because if you weren't cheating and this was like the only sole focus of your life was this girl, if she's not responding to you, you would get, what's the word? I can't, it's in Pashto, it's warhatab, like English is like worried. Gosh, I'm brain farting. You wouldn't be worried. And like, if that was someone, I would reach out to family, like, hey, I haven't heard from this person. Are they okay? Like, I need to confirm. I would call the cops. Like, after 24 hours, I'm like, where are you? So hope the guilt should eat you alive. Yesterday at work, HR and legal were in the CEO's office all day, and my manager ended up canceling our project meeting because he was with them all afternoon. I was on edge, but an affair isn't exactly a corporate crisis, and I thought something would have already happened if anyone knew. I am now 99% certain it was about me. A few hours ago, I received a message from Amy's phone which said, "This is Amy's brother Tom. I want you to know it was me." I tried to call, but it went straight to voicemail, and none of the messages have been delivered. I tried to call my manager more times than I should have, and he sent a message saying, "Please don't contact me until Monday morning. I can't discuss anything with you right now." So it looks like my universe is going to collapse. I'm going to be fired, and my wife will definitely find out why. All I can do is hope that Amy's brother only showed them the messages from that weekend and they were bad enough. I have no family except my wife and daughter and nowhere to go. You should have thought about that before you wanted to get your wee-wee wet, okay? All of my friends are either people I've met through my wife or my colleagues. On Monday, everything I spent over a decade working towards disappears. I can't stop it. I can't talk to anyone about it. So here I am. I know cheaters are the devil, so I'm not expecting sympathy, but this is making my chest hurt and I need to get it out there. I have been consistently harassed for an update since posting, so please take it. Gloat because you're such wonderful people in comparison. Stop following me around Reddit. I'm suffering in the wake of my infidelity and unprofessional behavior as I knew I would. I understand that it is an appropriate outcome and I'm taking full accountability. I was suspended from work on Monday and I'll probably be fired sooner than I thought. I'd hoped to be able to save money as HR built their case, but it looks like Amy's brother basically performed the entire investigation for them. After the excruciating 3-hour run through everything they had, I spoke to the founder and he recommended the solicitor I am now using. The issue is that the company has to come down hard to protect themselves, because even though Amy's family doesn't have much chance of a claim, any suggestion of a cover-up could cause damage regardless. The founder still thinks my offer to pay them back will keep it out of court, and some more information has come to light, so it's not certain I won't be prosecuted, but I'm quietly hopeful. I can't afford to keep the solicitor if this goes much further, especially with the divorce on the horizon. Good, your wife knows. Things are not good with my wife. I'm still committed to making this as easy as possible for her, but I had to draw a line when it came to my daughter. When I got home from being unceremoniously escorted out of my office, she already had a bag packed for me. She wouldn't let me wait at the house until my daughter was back. She wouldn't let me check. I had everything I needed. She wouldn't let me take the car, and she didn't care that I had nowhere to go. Spent 2 nights in a hotel and then went back when she refused to let me see my little girl. She tried to stop me, but we owned the house jointly and it was my only option. My wife has family she could stay with, but she won't leave our daughter here and she's absolutely not taking her. So we're at a stalemate right now. I'm keeping out of her way as best as I can, which I appreciate, is the least I can do. The Amy situation is quite difficult to talk about and a lot hasn't sunk in yet. It turns out that she didn't love me as much as I loved her, if at all. Her brother sent me images of her talking to her friends about me, and it's hard to believe they came from the person I loved, but they are real. Sorry to those who are heavily invested in me being a predatory abuser, but she and her friends had a good laugh about her manipulating me for money and a promotion. The role came with a big pay raise, and it looks like her plan was to treat us free cash, then go work with one of her friends when it fell through. She knew I'd come under scrutiny whenever she messed up and assumed I'd keep stepping in to save her. She was right. I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for you at all. You got. You had a whole ass wife. Good. Good for her. Rest in peace. For taking all your money because you deserve that. But what is wrong with you? I cannot feel sympathy for you at all. At all. If you were just a poor innocent man trying to find love, okay, I get it. But you legit just wanted to cheat on your wife. You had a family at home. If you cared that much about your daughter in the first place, like you say you are, you wouldn't have done anything you did. Obviously, I'm completely humiliated. I was planning to give up everything to build a life with her, and she was treating me like a joke the whole time. My feelings are complicated, so please don't feel entitled to any expansion on this, but I no longer feel guilt over her death. Reddit acted like I kept her hostage while she begged for help. What actually happened was that I asked if she could ask her friend to take her to the hospital because I had to go home. She said that was fine because she needed to go get some clothes back from her anyway, and I dropped her off as normal. Ultimately, she was an adult who had a better understanding of her medical needs than I did. I still don't know what happened between us saying goodbye and her death, but whatever it was, it had nothing to do with me. I'm sorry for her family's loss, but I bear no responsibility for her passing. After Amy's message to her friends were passed around, a few people quietly reached out with words of support. I assumed everyone would write me off like Reddit did, as an abuser and a predator. Now it's clear that Amy was using me. They see me as a fool who had then lost it all. It's beyond humiliating, but I have learned I'd rather be pitied and despised, and improves my legal position with work. They're small mercies, but I'll take what I can get. I remain filled with regret, and I have learned many lessons by the time I get through this. I may have been deceived, but I am a grown man who made my choices.